Welcome to WWE 2K23's all-new campaign mode that tells the tale of a gimp that lives inside of a ginormous safe and who would come crashing onto the WWE scene like Miley Cyrus on a wrecking ball, only better looking. When asked to be either a striker, a technician, a high flyer, or a powerhouse, of course, I went with striker. After all, someone's got to strike them cheeks. Now, there were, as usual, a bunch of really stupid costumes readily available that have been carried over from the previous games repeatedly for the past 5 or so years. However, I wasn't having any of it. After all, a legendary wrestler like legendary Agent 47 that legends have spoken of for millennia deserve so much more. Even the ready-made hit guy costume from Wish failed to make the cut, so I would be taking matters into my own hands. But first, I set my name to Agent 47, my nickname and entrance names to Hitman, my social media account to Real Hitman, you know, just to differentiate me from all those fake hitmen on social media, and my presentation name to Beautiful Hardcore Alpha Bacon because it was the only name that made sense. I then set my hometown to North Korea and got to pick in the new face of the WWE. Sadly, however, every single one of them looked like a high-speed crash victim. And this one, well, I don't know. I honestly don't know how this ever made it into the cut. After that, I spent a little bit of time picking the perfect set of chompers, which I would use to bite the ears of my enemies if things started to go south, and then cracked out the old hammer and chisel to create what can now be found in every modern-day dictionary directly under perfection. Whoops, plot twist, turns out the clown's wig was never actually a wig at all. They then made myself exactly 6 feet tall and a big, beautiful 240 pounds. After which time I spent significantly more time than I should have trying to perform the mental gymnastics required to figure out one's BMI if they were 6 foot, only 240 pounds in weight, and this morbidly obese. I then arrived at a somewhat generous body fat percentage of approximately 99.99%. Now, just like strings of lights on a Christmas tree, a WWE superstar needs strings of veins all over his body. Fortunately, the roids help with that, but so does just slapping them on in the character creator. I then gave myself some beautiful bright blue eyes, some beautifully shaped black eyebrows, and now I was looking just about ready to hit the tattoo parlor, baby. But being a multiple-time return customer, I slapped Mr. Miyagi on the bum and told him to give me the Moist Money Special. He knew what to do. Fortunately, the Moist Money Special meant that I could also get the ceremonial bag of double-ended ding-dongs from the Adult Lifestyle Supermarket barcode tattooed on the back of my head, free of charge. Chef's kiss, baby. I then gave myself some bloody elbow pads, some black latex dominatrix gloves, some bloody knee pads, and some blood-red booties. Finally, I gave myself some blood-stained dick togs, and I was ready to go. Anyway, now that I'd been breathed into existence, my debut would take place one fateful night at WWE Raw, where I'd lambast this unlikable jerk-off and take his belt. See, that's me inside of my gimp safe, and this is me getting out of my gimp safe like the absolute freak show I am. Hi, everybody! For me. Mike Tyson. Yep, this is me. I'm simultaneously awesome and the worst person alive. Everyone hates me, and I look like every bully or drug fiend that ever existed. And I was coming straight for the WWE belt, whatever it's called, because I sure as hell don't know. Immediately, however, Sammy tripped over my massive ball, so I picked him up and kicked him in the face a couple of times, and then cleaned my booters on his hooters, rearranging his face in the process. I scored a couple of cheeky goals with his backside. Hold on, wait, what? After that, I finished him with the good old reach around hand between the legs from behind special move that everyone was waiting for. And 1, 2, 3. The strap was mine, baby. 5 minutes out the gimp cage and already a world champion. Yeah, brah. Destiny, brah. But while I was just trying to keep to myself and quietly enjoy my victory, old mate came up behind me and violated me over the head. That would obviously never fly though, so I reversed him like the mad lad Giga Chat I am, smashed his face into the side of the safe and locked him inside, where just between you and me, it smelled like 40-year-old gym ass. That is to say, a piece of clothing, most probably a jock strap, that had been heavily soiled and left in a dirty gym bag or something for 40 years, and not a 40-year-old dude's sweaty ass after the gym. Not long after the fight, however, Shawn Michaels approached me backstage and told me that he had something to tell me. He said that he was actually my father, I was a mistake, and that he hated me. He then ripped out a padlock, stared me in the eyes, and said, "Who let your mom out? Who?" I didn't have an answer for him, but it was a very good question. One thing I was sure about, however, was that this guy was a bitch, and I hated him, and that his breasts were big enough to feed the entire third world. So I told him to f right off and went on my merry way. As soon as I got into the change rooms, I saw my next court case standing directly in front of me, but he told me that if I gave him a chance to get his belt back, he'd only sue me for half of what I was worth instead of all I'm worth. Joke was on him though, because I'm worth absolutely nothing. Prepped and ready, I headed out to show the crowd the new entrance routine I'd been working on. I like to call it, I had way too much crack cocainus and I'm tweaking off my head. Somebody please help me, my body is out of control. Suddenly, Conor McGregor at home came out with his bumhole cleaner. But I made a promise long ago to keep me exit hole and never make it an entry hole. I was, however, totally alright with taking a steaming hot poo-poo on his chest. It wouldn't come out though, so I kneed him in the throat instead. I then rubbed my dirty boot all over his face and kicked him right in the penis. But then in typical WWE fashion, while I was getting my freak on, somebody suddenly rode up on me and bamboozled me with my own chain and padlock. Then the two of them literally lay me down beside my 5,000-pound safe and tried to murder me in front of a live crowd and on live television. Bad ass. Fortunately, unfortunately, this loser came out and saved me from my ultimate demise. An eternal rivalry was then forged. I would never forgive him. 1 hour later, I was fine though, because the WWE has good drugs. They also made me angry, which was good because I was about to kick this idiot's ass again. I really loved how the entire first 3 hours or so of the campaign was bashing the same dude over and over and over again. I then climbed the ladder and got ready to pinch back my belt thingy once and for all. Later that day in the change rooms, Shawn Michaels told me that I was conceived in a test tube that he buffed in 30 years ago, and then was approached by this man in a suit and this guy in his underpants who both tried to recruit me to their respective factions. Apparently, I needed to be in a gang to win all the belts or something. I finally settled on this middle-aged dad though, because he looked like he knew how to get all the letters. Shawn Michaels popped up again and told me that he was sending me to California to headline the next pay-per-view there. He also said that now that nobody lived in California anymore, the chances of having anyone attend was next to zero, but that if I could pull off a full arena, hold on, wait, what? He would tell me who my mother was. Unfortunately, however, they had me up against this bozo for the 30th time since the start of the campaign, who I completely and entirely blame for the poor attendance at the event that night. Anyway, now that I was in a gang and that we all had matching suits, we showed up in limos and did copious amounts of crack cocainus in the back of the limo on our way to work every day. Life was good / tremendously expensive. It was also at that moment that I realized the MVP entrance that I chose during character creation that I thought was just a generic entrance for, you know, the MVP, was actually the entrance for a guy called MVP. The very same guy in my gang. Awkward! But even more awkward was the fact that we were, much to my surprise, involved in a threesome match with these two dudes, and also these two dudes. And admittedly, it was going pretty well for me. Not so much for this dude, who was now a paraplegic after getting his spinal cord severed by my knee. But then, just as I was going for the cheeky side mount leg in the air scissor missionary position, I got picked up and tossed onto my back, which did way more damage than it should have, considering I literally hadn't been hit at all during the entire fight. But hey, WWE! And then seemingly out of nowhere, Tupac with hair came flying off the top rope, taking both me out and Mr. Leatherpants in one fell swoop. He then hopped right on top of me, which honestly hurt my feelings and made me feel like the town bike because just about everyone had had a ride. Unfortunately, that meant that we weren't able to take the WWE Tag Team belts home that night. We were salty, sure, but we'd get our revenge in the next threesome. In the backlot, I made sure to blame everyone else but myself for the steaming pile of ass that was our last fight, and said that I was going to go out for an immediate rematch then and there where I would do battle once more with Tupac with hair and short LeBron James to claim the tag team belts for myself. I picked up old mate and gave him the big juicy booty to the face. He punched his mate in the mouth so he wouldn't be able to interfere with the 3 count, did this thingamajig, and then 1, 2, 3 counts, you're out of here, short LeBron. I was absolutely ecstatic and celebrated in the only way that I knew how, like a princess. As I razzled and dazzled my way across the ring, I thought to myself, I wonder if this tattoo ink is toxic. It sure looks toxic. Now, this bloke was the current holder at the time of the 24/7 championship belt, which basically meant that roided up half-naked men would jump you round the clock anywhere of their choosing. I could understand why any normal man would not want such a responsibility, but not me. I had brain damage. As he passed the belt to the ref, I could tell just by the look in his eyes that he knew he was about to die. And after picking him up off the ground by his long, filthy hair, I hit him with a Hadouken so powerful that he shit himself and died instantly. Just another belt to add to my collection, baby. A huge dude in a schoolboy uniform came and punched me in the back of the head. So I made him chase me up a ladder to the second floor, just so I could toss him all the way back down again directly onto his back on the hard concrete floor. With him now dead, I had successfully defended my new 24/7 championship belt for the first time, though he did move around an awful lot for a dead guy. Now, I don't know why, but this entire garbage campaign story had me fighting the same pool of like 8 dudes over and over and over and over again until it finally thankfully ended, but here I was again fighting the same idiot I'd already beaten 3 times prior with my belt once more on the line. And it was going real well, I tell ya. I had him stunned. I was climbing the top rope to fly off and hopefully snap his neck in the process, but then he went full Undertaker on me, bashed the ref, and then Randy Norton antivirus made me smash my testicles on the turnbuckle. Very uncool. This then set me up for another chokeslam that sadly resulted in me losing my Intercontinental Championship belt, and 3 grown-ass men in ridiculous costumes pretending to kick me repeatedly on the floor for a good 30 seconds. My career had reached an all-time low. Backstage, my gang members told me that they decided to kick me out because I was way too attractive to be a part of their gang. But it was fine. They weren't my real dads anyway. Later that day, however, because yes, this entire story takes place inside of just one really long day, I was telling the WWE Universe about this one simple trick that was making WWE Superstars everywhere hate me, when Shawn Michaels popped up again to tell me I had a brother and that he was better than me in everything. He also told me that even though he was my father, my brother was also him. I couldn't believe it. And naturally so bamboozled by it all, I decided that the only gentlemanly thing to do in such a situation was to king hit him in the back of the head as he was trying to walk away. He looked mad. I had a feeling that I may have gone just a little bit too far. Next time, I would need to go further. Oh yes, I was also fired from the WWE. Anyway, now that I was broke and a joke, I was forced into doing motion cap for all the future crappy WWE 2K games that were coming out in order to pay for my hefty crack cocainous habit. But lo and behold, look who decided to suddenly rock up again with his stupid briefcase. Hole McGee. And yes, I have anger management issues, so it shouldn't have come as a surprise to anybody that this is what happened while he was prancing around the ring like an absolute tosspot. After losing my motion cap gig though, I was now officially homeless, jobless, and crackless. Old people kept coming up to me and trying to resuscitate me, thinking I was dead, or offering me butterscotch toffees and asking me if I needed a metal spoon and a syringe. I took this old bloke up on one of his offers and headed to the local pub with him. As it turned out, he was my mother. Completely hammered after my bender with mum, I entered myself into the local UK wrestling tournament. The drugs in England hit different, and so did I. Now, rumor had it that NXT UK was holding a double championship match open to anyone, which technically meant that I could rock up unannounced and challenge the champ for his belt and trophy. I knew that with me mum in me corner shouting at me, reminding me not to be a little bitch, I could do anything. And so I kneed this guy repeatedly in the testicles until they turned to paste. I then grabbed the microphone off the ref and farted into it. I took my new belt on a trip around the world, visiting various promotions and making WWE filthy jealous in the process. Finally, they had no choice but to invite me back. Shawn Michaels, however, had other ideas. He said that the only reason they brought me back was to get back their belt and trophy, and that he would do absolutely everything to make my life miserable. Little did he know that misery was my forte, and I loved to cry. He then told me that I had up until SummerSlam, which was only a couple of days thereabouts away, to become WWE champion, or I was gone from the universe forever. Just then the new WWE champion, Shrek, walked out. I could tell immediately by his stubble and black underpants that he was a baddie now. He got into the ring and told me that he was my mother's brother's friend and that we were related by blood. What the hell is going on? I thought to myself. Why is everyone in the WWE an immediate family member? And why isn't the WWE called the WEE when that is clearly a much better name? He tried to smash me, but I reversed him. And then just as I was pinning him, Shawn Michaels did the dirty on me. I couldn't believe it. Shawn, you dirty, dirty man. Then before I knew it, my mum and I were getting the crap kicked out of us in the middle of the ring. As a result of the traumatic brain injury I incurred during that fight, I rocked up to my next couple of fights thinking I was some kid on a scooter, and then hit up The Rock to ask for a little bit of help dismantling the tyrannical WWE patriarchy. He said sure, but first I had to kill a clown. So I did. But with only 2 days left to win the WWE Championship, time for me was running out. What wasn't running out though was my willingness to steep to all new lows time and time again. So I caught up with my mother's brother's friend, who I was related to by blood, in the car park and bashed the crap out of him and his mates. Then me and the boys flipped their limo over onto its side because toxic masculinity. Having already warmed up in the back lot by deadlifting their limo, we were now ready to face off against them once again, but this time inside of the ring. But of course, while I was dominating once more, the stupid 4-story arc kicked in and a bunch of half-naked dudes clad in leather and latex appeared out of nowhere and gangbanged me in the middle of the ring. You see, Randy Norton Antivirus and Shawn Michaels had orchestrated the entire thing. Their master plan. The great reveal. Randall Norton was also my father. I couldn't believe it. How were they all my father? But as I would soon find out, it didn't stop there. As I got manhandled and dropped on my face, I then found out that all of these guys were also my fathers too. For some reason though, The Rock wasn't. Why is life so cruel? But life is cruel to everybody, as my arch nemesis would soon find out when Shawn Michaels entered the ring to tell him that he no longer felt confident in his ability to defend the belt from me. And so, he was asking him to relinquish it to random antivirus. So he lay down on the floor and took it like the little bitch he was. Random Nordic Virus was now the WWE champion. Struggling to hold my ice pack in the back room, Shawn Michaels appeared out of nowhere once more to bamboozle me with some more info nuggets. He told me that all of this was part of an elaborate plan that he had set up to test whether or not I was ready to become the new owner of the chocolate factory. My final test would be that night and would require me to defeat Randick Norton. Then everyone knows that the more tattoos you have, the tougher you are. Sure, he had 2 full sleeves, but me? I was an absolute psycho that tattooed a permanent suit onto his body. Now, the belt was looking mighty juicy in the hands of Red Dick Orton, and I couldn't wait to wrap it around my dick. Horrible, horrible things happened to Randy that night, over and over and over and over and over and over again. It was great. But then he reversed me, broke my spine, and put me on the top rope to try and do some sus stuff with the help of Shawn Michaels. But fortunately, The Rock came along and caved in Shawn's face on the sharp edge of the metal steps. And just when I thought I'd been bamboozled again, Shrek rocked up pretending to gangbang me with Rick Dick, but broke his neck for me instead, allowing me to go for the 1, 2, 3 count pin for the win, baby. And just like that, I was now the WWE World Champion and the new owner and proprietor of Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory. My dad immediately rushed into the ring, seemingly to steal my belt away, but much to my surprise, he took it off the ref rather aggressively, I might add, and gave it to me. He told me that he loved me and he was now confident that I could run the chocolate factory myself and that he could now die in peace. Then he went backstage and got run over by a truck. As I continued to celebrate my victory in the ring, completely unaware of what was going on around me, my best mate rocked up again with his stupid briefcase and smashed me over the head with it, clearly trying to steal my belt off me after just having won it. You see, that Money in the Bank case allows him to challenge anyone for their title anywhere, anytime. So I got back to my feet and patiently waited for him to come charging at me in the corner, then moved out of the way just in time, causing him to squash both of his testicles and pinning him for 3. Of course, he tried to take the belt anyway, like the annoying little bitch that he is, but he fell out of the ring in the process, and all my G's came into the ring to celebrate with me. I was now officially the WWE World Champion of the world, and low-key couldn't wait for 2K to re-release the same game again next year, but with a 4 on the end of it instead of a 3.